Ladies and gentlemen, this presentation is brought to you by The Greatness Continues LLC. And you are now tuned into the greatest conversations, starring Reese Two Times, Shaka the Wise, Sensei J, the Masked Man, Big Z, and your host, D. Jones. Once again, you are tuned into the greatest conversations.
It's hard to do.
Yeah,
It's hard. Eventually, you come to a point where it's just like,
Big Z
I'm trying to do too much, and now at some point you're focusing more on one thing, and then you realize, oh yeah, I'm doing this, and then you start doing that, and then you know what I mean. Then you start dividing back and forth like teeter totter. Like,
well, go ahead, because I'm upset.
That's it.
You think? Well, Big Z's gonna take a hot take because I just everything bothers me in the world, and I feel like you know the main concept of
multitasking right now.
The main concept of multitasking
podcasting
was when the first time I heard the term multitask in the sense of comparison to people, they said men cannot multitask, women can. And so Big Z was like,
you said men cannot, but women can.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like an old.
That was like the first time Big Z's ever heard of the term like multitask as far as it regarding people. You know, usually before that people say like, you can't multitask. You can't.
Yeah, like back in the day when they did a lot of the psychological studies and shit. They were like, men are not as good as multitasking.
And so I feel like this whole conversation on multitasking, you know, may put some people in a certain mind because to say that multitasking does or does not exist, you're essentially saying that, in a way, that study was wrong and that men can't multitask, and then you're just saying, well, then women can't. Like, if men can't, women can't, because it's not a real thing. You know, if you say multitasking is not a real thing, you just said that study right there was made up to just give 1 point to women and 0 points to men. But at the end of the day, there was no points really should have been given at all because it was a made-up study.
I mean, well, it's completely possible because there are plenty of studies out there that are full of
Yeah.
Yeah.
But most of the studies that were done came to the conclusion at this point that, like, the ability, like, yeah, people do it, but it's not as
It's not cut and dry.
Yeah, people assume that it's just cut and dry. Like, yeah,
though.
like,
I
yeah.
think men do multitask. I see people saying like women does it better.
I know. Okay, so now I just have a lot of questions about this study. So, what was the original thought? Were they going in to prove or disprove whether a man or a woman could...
It was more based on intelligence.
Yeah,
level.
Maybe like
and they were
job
using
opportunities
tasks
too,
like
maybe?
that to test
maybe like
intelligence.
job opportunities too. Like, you know, this is the people that like we would probably want to hire or would probably be like beneficial for this company.
Yes.
Well, how are they like measuring the ability to multitask?
Yeah, like what are they testing? Like, how are those tests going?
So to me personally, the first part study, a lot of it was geared more towards women, stuff that men wouldn't do. Like, can you type? Because it's an old study. Can you type
a lot of
type
typing.
words per minute and have a conversation with somebody? During the time of that study, men didn't really type.
Yeah.
You know, it was more the women based that did it. So it's like 1 point to the women, you know? So it was all, I think that the only thing that men did in that study was like your ability to like hold an intelligent conversation while also doing like some form of repeating a, what is that called? Like a text. Like to talk to you and then repeat this text simultaneously. I think that's the only thing a man could do.
Also, I would put that to the test because, like, how many people out there can truly like type up a paper while holding a conversation with someone else?
But back then, that was like 80% of the women in the workforce.
Supposedly, allegedly.
I mean,
all that sounds both.
It's
the men versus women stuff.
I don't think it wasn't necessarily like being told to type it up off of their own mind. It was more they can read like something they're being told to type out,
like type
and then talk to somebody while they're reading.
Talk to me while you type that
People
out.
do that all the time though.
but like, but a lot of
that was back in the day.
When the study was taken, majority of people who did that were women.
Yeah, that was back in the day when like these industries were kind of
like during the age of the battle of the sexes,
yeah.
like the battle of the sexes, how that was.
I just don't understand.
It wasn't even really common at that point yet.
Woman thing, like man versus woman thing, I don't get it.
What do you mean?
You start going on a rant talking about how like you had a hot take about how they say women can multitask better than men can, but I'm like,
because no, what I was saying was if you say women can multitask better than men, but then you say multitasking doesn't exist, then you discredit that whole.
Yeah, but it do exist.
And that's what we're saying. Like, even if it did exist, it doesn't exist on a scale of men versus women. It's a matter of an individual preference. It just so happened that in that time
It is.
Yeah, during that time period,
You said it is when like a individual thing or a men versus women thing.
The individual thing.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
That's what we're saying. But I know people listening to this. There's gonna be some people. I'm just gonna call them out on the left because I'm gonna. They're gonna be like, they're gonna get mad because when you put men and women in the same category, they don't like it. They rather like to have women.
Do you agree with like life insurance? How like men will have a higher premium because their life expectancy is a lot shorter than women?
I mean, that makes sense. That's science.
Yeah. I mean, but then you argue with the pink tax as well, where women will buy things off of emotion versus men not buying things off of emotion. So the pink tax shouldn't be a thing because it's not right.
Pink tax?
It's called the pink tax.
I've never heard of that.
It's when you have two of the same
women's
brands,
cosmetics and
but
stuff
if it's
like
for
that.
women,
Right?
it costs slightly more. But it's the same ingredients, same everything.
Really?
Yeah, it's called the pink tax.
Never heard.
Is that why women's deodorant is so expensive?
If you don't know,
That's exactly why.
Or if you don't know,
That's
exactly
it's
why.
like weak.
That's exactly why.
Most of the women I know wear men's deodorant.
yeah.
A lot of people vice versa.
Yeah.
Sometimes the funny thing is sometimes it's
that.
actually better the other way around.
That's how
One thing that they don't incorporate with some of the deodorants, like back in the 90s, it's more diverse. But back in the 90s, women's deodorant was anti-perspirant. And men's wasn't. So like men, you have deodorant but still sweat. Women, when we're deodorant, they can work out and won't sweat at all.
Yeah, because that was the point. They didn't want to.
They didn't want to.
They didn't want to be sweating.
Oh, shit.
Because women didn't want to. It wasn't sexy to see sweating in their. So.
But also too, like, wouldn't preference be like? Because I feel like a lot of women like the way that men smell, like the stuff that the fragrance.
Yeah, but we're talking about today. We're talking about like in the past.
If you like the way men smell, does that necessarily mean you want to smell like them?
Possibly.
Yeah, I mean, in today's society, I feel like a lot of women get confused on that.
Or did you mean like like if you're a woman, like you have more of a musty smell than you would wear?
I'm just saying they preferred like the smell of like men's deodorant than they would like women.
I can see that.
Yeah, that's because of the scent. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But back then, that would have been frowned upon.
Yeah.
They wanted to a man's deodorant. They were like, what is wrong
Right.
with you? You know?
Big Z in his history. It's like,
Yo, let me ask you guys a question. When you guys read, do you say the words out loud in your head?
I do.
I used to.
I do.
I feel like that's probably
that's how you
almost
read.
just a natural
out loud in your head or
standard.
out loud?
In your head. Do you?
I thought that's how you.
Well, yeah. How would you know? What's the opposite?
I scan.
Yeah, you can scan without really like.
I scan it and then like I have like I'm not gonna boast myself, but somewhat of a photographic memory. So if I see a word, it just sticks out in my brain.
You do?
That's how. Honestly,
What does it look like?
I said one word. But I can see shit right now. I can see shit.
What do you think?
No, that is a good point. Like that is a good point.
So if you're
Because something like if I just vaguely like see something at some point in the day, and then like maybe a couple weeks later someone brings that up,
Bro, have you guys?
I was
seen
like, my mind would be riddled. Like I recently saw that.
Bro, have you guys ever seen the movie Focus with Will Smith and the chick from Harley Quinn? Like that's a technique.
Is it good?
Bro, that's a technique, bro. Like he made this, dude like see a certain number like all throughout the day.
Yeah.
Like the guy didn't realize.
They're at the tracks.
It's called subliminal message.
Yeah. It's a psychological message. Or psychological.
I mean, but I was gonna say you can definitely teach yourself through. Yeah. So sub-vocalization, you don't necessarily have to do it. A lot of people do it though, and it actually limits their ability to read.
Because if you get to a word,
how do you read and you're not saying it out loud?
Because you're reading. That's what reading is. You don't have to say it out loud.
I'm talking about like in your head.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at the words. Why are you saying them?
Yeah.
But I find it like I can't see how you can read something.
It's like you just looking at it.
And then
But that's what reading.
So I feel like there's
you're looking at
like
words.
if you're
but looking at words and reading them.
Perfect example.
Thing.
All right, so if you look at something in Japanese, right? You're looking at it. In your head, you don't know what it says, right? Because you don't know. If you don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think looking and reading are two different things.
Okay, but if you could understand it and you just looked at it.
Yeah, if you already know the words.
You just looked at it. Don't
you don't really
why are you saying? Why are you saying?
If
You're
you
just
know what
slowing
the
yourself
words
down.
mean, why are you saying it in your head?
Yeah, you're just slowing yourself down.
Yeah. You're slowing.
For context.
What are y'all saying?
So because what if you understand a sentence?
How do you understand?
You can understand
like not reading it.
Like that. I know it probably says Batman on your head or something like that, right? But like
it said, what says Batman?
Your head.
It says ha ha ha.
Oh, okay. We'll forget that.
So basically, I see what you're saying versus looking versus reading, but once you look at that, right?
Yeah.
You know that it says Cowboy Bebop.
So you don't have to read it again.
You don't have to, when you look at it again, you don't have to read in your head Cowboy Bebop.
So that would
but like, what if you're reading a sentence
your sight, seeing the words and interpreting that it says Cowboy Bebop is you reading it because you know the language.
So that would be like
but my thing is,
but then there's an action as well as repeating the word.
See, how my thing is,
when you say it in your head, you're just reaffirming yourself that that's what you read.
This is how my thing is. My thing is, to me, I see reading as like you read the book, you saying it like something you never experienced. So the first thing I feel like you see, you gonna read it. But if you know, you're gonna be like, oh, that's Cowboy Bebop. And you're not really reading it. To me, that's just looking at it.
No, but you're sub-vocalizing it. So you're being redundant is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at it. You literally knows what it says. You've already read it. Just by looking at it, you've already read it. But if you look at it and then you literally, if I look at this and it says buttermilk, and then in my head I say buttermilk, why am I doing that?
Yeah, you're just reassuring. You're literally reassuring what you just said.
Yeah, your brain is.
But like,
what if
you're like, okay, so you.